So, hi Anushka, how are you?
Hi Anshika, I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm also good. So, Anushka, beyond the founder tag of Skillzoo, can you tell me something about yourself?
Okay, so I'm 18 now, and currently, as an 18-year-old college going student, figuring my life outside, building things, or writing on various topics, or just trying new things out. I'm just a girl who tries everything possible, and that doesn't really define me in a very particular sense because I'm just someone who would get involved in a lot of things. But as someone who really loves building new things and trying to find solution for the existing problems, I certainly believe that trying things and really taking the risk does change a person a lot. So over the years, being a TEDx speaker, writing for various publication houses, building some or the other project with my friends has been a life changer of a thing. And yeah, that's all. And there are a lot of things I love doing, watching movies, reading books, all of those things. Also, while I do procrastinate a lot, I wouldn't deny that. But apart from all the procrastination and all of the laziness, I'm just someone who would take the ambitious step forward.
Okay, this is actually very great because at such a young age, you are being a TEDx speaker, and at such a young age, you are a founder of a whole company. So, this is something very big in itself. So, Anushka, can you tell me something about your company, Skillzoo?
Yeah, so my brand Skills is basically a high school students opportunity platform where we bring high school students in our platform to give them the access to information regarding the existing opportunities which are going around, whether that be scholarships, internships, competitions regarding their interested fields, or just even a slightest amount of mentorship and guidance which can help them in the long run. That's all we offer. Along with that, we do have a lot of personalized programs which mentor and cater to Tier 3 and Tier 4 students in India. And so far, we have impacted more than 60,000 students all over the country, and looking forward to impact more lives in this current young generation.
This is actually good. Basically, when it comes to the younger generation who are stepping forward for something new and facing a transition in their career, so it is actually very important to have a knowledge about it. If we don't have it, so that will cause the effect in future. So can you tell me that how do you actually manage the people among the organization, like whenever a new person joins you, so how do you operate it?
So right now we were relatively a really small team, and after 1.5 year, we decided that we would need a lot of help, whether it would be researching part of the competitions or just trying to understand what are the current problems the 11 and 12 grade students are finding to be difficult, because since most of us are college students right now. So for that aspect, when it comes to having a lot of students as our interns or as volunteers per se, it can get a bit chaotic because there are a lot of different opinions, there are a lot of agreement to disagreement which keeps on going on a daily basis. But I think as there should be one person in a group, one person in a team which can handle people. I think a lot of people underestimate the skill of working with people and being with people. I think unless a person does not understand how to work with another human being, then I don't think that person is skilled enough to be working with anyone, even if they know thousands of skills they have. So I think that's a really important aspect when it comes to my team. And especially, I certainly believe I'm a very human centric person. So I love surrounding myself with people and people of my age, talking to them, getting their ideas on board. So that's where I take the responsibility and accountability of handling people and getting them on board, or even if it's a part of, removing some of them are not in the sense of any disrespect or any ego matter, but also in a sense to try to see if people fit into the particular interest or goal we have, or if it is being aligned in any sense or not, because there can be this alignment in what people think and what we are working in. So I think that's a really important aspect of an organization, to bring people on board and also understand how they are working with us.
Yeah, this is actually very true because unless we are not having the real world experiences, the students and the people will not be able to actually got to know about the concerns that this person in front of us is actually facing. So
Yeah.
yeah. And Anushka, when a new person or a newbie step into a completely new world and do not know about it, so in that case, can you tell me that how your company works and how your company provides the services to them so that they could aim out the future that for which they are aiming for and they are building for?
Yeah, that's a really good question because our our main target consumer market is somewhere around classes 9 to 12 students. So a student of any of that age in Indian high school students are usually very confused about what they want to do in life, especially when they're bounded by just following academics and are forced to give entrance exams just after their class 12. So it just restricts their abilities to try more things. So when they reach out to us or when they find out about skills, so the first thought is how is this gonna help them in a very broader aspect or something. Is this something which is directly related to academics, or do I have to be good at a certain thing to be able to be a part of a community as such? The answer to all of that is no, you don't have to be good at any particular thing at such a young age. It's actually really vague to be good at one thing and to be expecting that out of a kid who is just 15 years old. So what we suggest and what we imply is when students find out about skills, so it's them trying to take the step of joining into a community of thousands of other students who are also in the same age bracket, facing the same difficulties with the Indian education system, and trying to work upon things or trying to find their interests and opportunities where they can build their future in. So when they find out about skills, they first register themselves in the platform and then they get joined up to a WhatsApp community group of other students. And that's where we share a lot of opportunities list, a lot of competitions, a lot of mentorship and guidance of what they can be doing, and if they're applying to a certain competition, how they can give their best into it. It's not always about the winning part of the competitions, it's more of having to have the experience of competing with others who have the same ability as you but in a very different sense. So I think that's a really important part for any class 9 to 12 student, because this basically shapes their entire thinking of how they would go outside in the real world and how they would take the competitive mindset into the thinking. Because right now India is a very restricted, it's growing right now, but earlier it used to be really restricted in the competitive part of it. People would just think competition is equals to the entrance examinations taking place. So there is a lot of other things a student has to take into matter for them to upskill themselves. So yeah.
Yeah, this is actually very true because nowadays, when we talk about the competition, so it is totally aligned towards the competitive examinations and all. No one
Yeah.
talks about the skills nowadays. And when we go through the selection procedures that usually have by the companies, they ask for skills instead of the degrees we have,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, that's certainly true. I mean, yeah, degrees do play a vital role as well. I wouldn't deny that. Everyone has their preferences, and in a country like India, which is densely populated, and it's really difficult to change the mindsets of parents and the elder generation. So, a certain idea can't be enforced upon them that degrees is not something which does not matter. Degrees do play an important role to some extent, but that also is subjective to the person. So one person might not need an MBA, or some person might need an MBA to understand the entire business process or what actually happens in the company. So at the end of the day, the way you actually use the degree or use the subject which you're studying into something which can be executed in real life, which can be executed to an existing problem and be proposed a solution to, can require more critical thinking than just memorizing a really theoretical subject, in my opinion. And that's where there's a certain sense of satisfaction and an adrenaline a student gets when they participate in various things or they take up passion projects and try to implicate something of their own. And also it does act as a differentiator because quantitative wise students are there are a certain number of students which are giving an exam and have a certain number of score to be achieved. But when it comes to taking up projects, doing something which is uniquely yours, it does play a lot of change into a person's own personality and the way they interact with people as well.
Yes, this is actually true because when it comes to the put when we put all of our work into something which is originally ours, so for that the natural information and the knowledge we gain from the books and through the skills we have attained over the time is actually very important because implication is something which is plays a role when it comes to putting in the work, right?
Yeah, because theoretically, a person might be aware about a lot of things, and on paper, it all might seem very perfect. But when it comes to executing things in real life, when it comes to discussing about a certain topic with others, the opinions regarding it might change. The discussions can become controversial further down the line. So it's really important for a person to understand what exactly are they studying and why they are studying it at the first place, because a lot of people don't question the why nowadays. It's really important to question why you're studying a certain subject and in what sense would you implicate or work upon it in future, because each subject is sort of interlinked with one or the another. So it's really significant for each individual to try understanding the why of things at a very early age, and that's what we also try to aim in skills, so to make students understand the importance of why. Even if they're participating in a particular competition, they are insisted upon asking themselves why they want to be a part of this competition, why they need mentorship for this particular XYZ thing, so that they get the sense of complete awareness of the why which is attached to them.
Yes, because unless and until we don't know the why inside us, we will not be going to achieve the goal that we actually want. So, Anushka, can you tell me that have you ever faced such kind of individuals who hasn't figured out their whys when they join your organization?
Yeah, in fact, I was one of them who couldn't figure out the exact why to any of the things in life. And also, figuring it out is not like a complete burden task which you have to figure out at the age of 16 or 17, especially when your frontal lobe isn't even developed at that age. So, when people join our organization as interns, or even when they are reaching to us personally regarding what we are doing or what they want to do as well, or what they can contribute, I do ask them, why do you want to join us, or why do you think this is the right thing for you to do? They do give an answer. I don't know fully exactly why I'm doing this. It's just, it seems interesting to me, is the reason why I'm applying or I'm giving it a chance. Even if people get the interest of applying it, that's a really big enough answer right now, too, because at least having an interest, and at least sensing what you are thinking you're gonna like, is also a really big component of things in future as well, because having a sense of awareness of what you think you would like or what you wouldn't like goes in a lot of aspects of life anyway. So that's what we implicate to do, and hopefully a lot of students do get a lot of insights from us too, because I mean, as young adults, we too are trying to figure out our whys at time, because everything is really uncertain nowadays. So trying to stick with one why doesn't always work, and hopefully over the future and over the next few years, the why does become a more certain for everyone if the world is going in a really all right stage.
Yes, exactly it is. Because why is something which is everyone's perspective, and unless and until the why isn't figured out, we are not be going to able to just move ahead for whatever the intention we have. So, Anushka, can you tell me some steps through which a person or a beginner could identify his or her why?
Okay, I think the first initial step one has to get into achieving their why has to be to be aware of the reason why they are have to take the why, because over the years I switched in a lot of subjects. I switched into a lot of interests, like class 9 is started with hospitality industry, then I switched over to literature, then I switched over to finance, and now I'm doing finance, but it might change in future as well. So what I'm trying to say is that over the years your interests are going to change anyway, because there are so many things that can excite your mind and that can make you feel like you're going to excel in this better than the other one. So what a person must do is to make sure to have a list of things they think they are good at. Now, when I mention they're good at, it does not have to be about subjects they are good at. It has to be about things they feel good at while they are doing it. It can be playing sports, like what aspect of playing sports excites them, what aspect of writing they enjoy doing, or what aspects of even talking to people they enjoy. Because a lot of people just enjoy talking to other people on certain topics, whether it be about politics, the UN, the controversial trends going around the world. So, in that sense, people have to go deeper into their everyday life activities of why they like doing this certain thing, rather than when they're asked you what they're good at. It shouldn't be subject wise. I'm good at maths, I'm good at science. It has to be something more specific and related to daily life, because that's how they're gonna keep working on in the future as well. So their future life, the future work life, is going to be associated with what they like and what they dislike. And that's why a lot of people do not find the particular sense of satisfaction for what they do when they're in their 20s, 30s, or 40s, or even 50s for that age. Some people enjoy doing 9 to 5 because they realize this is the lifestyle they like. Some people do not enjoy doing it because they couldn't figure it out beforehand what their likings or dislikings could have been and what couldn't have been. And especially when it comes to the startup ecosystem, not a lot of people really enjoy it as well, to be in a very counter intrusive side. It is glorified in certain extent. I would say that if you do work 7 to 8 hours on your own project, you're gonna get this in return, but the return does not always come back really immediately. Even for Skillzoo, even for the projects I did in the past, the returns were never immediate, to say the least. So one has to really understand why they enjoy doing the particular thing to be able to get the comprehension of the entire work life that happens when a person reaches their 20s. Then I think a person must really be, like they should discuss their why with others. Like if I enjoy doing a certain thing, I should go and talk to my friends and say, hey, I enjoy doing this certain thing. What is something you enjoy doing? So in that way, people, like young students, can be work friends with their own friends. So that builds a really good social circle, and later those friends can come and use as networks or connections, because you never know, in future you might need the help of that friend in tech, in UI UX, or in anything, in any aspect of life. So that just opens up a really wider space of learning about your own self, and also learning about the people around you. And I think the last step of understanding the why would be to just keep on just applying to things, even if they're a bit aukat ke bahar, or even if they're just a bit out of your limit, because everything will seem out of the limit or out of the reach at the initial level. It's just you have to apply, you have to give the shot, even if you think you're not going to have any chance. What's the worst going to happen? You're not going to get in, or you're not going to get the chance. That's fine. There was nothing to lose anyway. So I think the whys can be figured out in these ways, and I really hope people can figure out their whys, because that's how I figured out mine in few years. But it does take a lot of time.
Exactly. It actually takes a lot of time and also brainstorming as well, because
True.
grinding is something which is very important. And can you tell me that, as now we have touched the topic for brainstorming and grinding, nowadays people are using AI a lot for brainstorming and grinding themselves. So, what are your comments on it?
I believe AI is not bad. AI is not bad in any like particular sense. AI becomes the villain when you use AI for all of your human abilities. AI was initially built for making the human life easier in some aspect, but then now it's being used to replace the human's critical thinking, and that's why humans are certainly believing that AI will replace them. AI is better than humans in this aspect. AI is creating better art than humans, which is practically impossible to be doing, because humans use emotions. Humans have been using their emotions in a lot of decisions they make in their life. So AI coming into play, AI being an artificial intelligence data center based thing cannot replace a human mind critical thinking. And people's opinions, the way people are thinking about trends, or let's say even some controversial trends, are usually coming up from a social media tweet or an opinion which is passed on by 10 other friends in the circle. So people, before they could have their own opinion, the opinions of others and the opinion of AI starts to come into inside their mind, and that's when the critical thinking stops. That's where the brainstorming aspects of things stop. So that's why even when I work on any of my passion projects, or even when my friends work on any projects, we always try to first put our mind inside it. We first try to put our complete energy and critical thinking we can to come up with any solution, even if the solution sounds ridiculous at first. But at the end, if the humans are using their brain to some extent to come up with something that's more than AI just giving answer to one prompt. And AI is monitored and is made up in a way that will give only one particular answer to certain things. It can't think with the emotions humans have. So it's really important for humans to be thinking about trends, about ideas, about their own life, and about the topics they're interested in their own way, rather than just relying upon AI, because then an opinion forms before their own opinion gets clustered over. And also, a lot of people are really performative nowadays when it comes about having original thoughts. Every thought a person has is something which has been passed down by 10 other people, and that opinion is changed due to societal pressure, or just the peer pressure, or the FOMO thing which keeps happening. Like, if I do not agree with this certain thing, then my friends would think I'm uncool or anything as such. So I think everyone should just first sit down with their own self, think and think. Like, it is a very raw process. You have to sit down with yourself, be bored while searching upon it on Google. That's how it works for me, and that's what is actually practically more possible than just relying on AI for everything.
Yes, actually, you're absolutely right here, because nowadays, when it comes to people, most of their thinking is mostly influenced by the people around their circle, and also through the AI and the news, and especially social media. It plays a
Yeah.
very great role in that, because when they people just get through the scrolling over social media, they adopt the ideas and the perspectives of other people instead of going through the whole scenario by themselves.
Yeah, certainly agree. Even when it comes to people's own liking, especially the youngsters' own liking, it gets changed due to the internet's perspective regarding it, or what's the current cool girl trend going on. And this goes on in a various aspects of topics, whether it be political, controversial, something which is related to the current war scenarios even going on, or even a person's own liking related to a movie. Everything just gets changed upon a person's opinion, which has reached 2 million views on social media. So it's really important to hold and behold your own opinion and your own thoughts and stick to it, even if it's not something which is so acceptable by a lot of people, because it's a very human nature to agree to disagree, and that happens in a lot of sense in life. So might as well just agree to disagree and have that process with people, because that's another level of conversation to be having with your friends and to be having with your family, as per se, that you agree on a certain thing, but your family or your friends might be agreeing on, or might be disagreeing to it. So you putting your own points to justify it also next kind of a skill that comes into a play, and that's also really important when it comes to business aspects of learning a lot of skills.
Yes, actually, this is also plays a role, and there is one more thing here, that when it comes to the social media things and scrolling, so the attention span of the people has become so low that they do not even find it suitable to sit with themselves for even 5 minutes, because they have become so impatient nowadays that unless and until they have their phones with them, they don't feel like that they are even living nowadays.
Yeah, certainly. And that's when nowadays, in like, when this 2026 year started, a lot of people started bringing this trends on Instagram, calling it digital detox, or getting back to 2000s, like getting digital cameras out, living the life we used to live back in the early 2000s. And that's a good way of like trying to get life back in the way where we did not have a lot of technology or AI or anything as such, but also something which is also getting performative in some sense or the other, because people want to have a very nostalgic way of living, or like live their life in the way they feel like they're living it instead of surviving it. But when it's the actual living part of it, they don't really use it in that way, because if you're really getting back to the early 2000s way of living, then why don't we switch to having to browse to Google search, or to just like get every information first handedly by our own self than to just get it directly from AI. So it's a very counter initiative thing to be happening right now in the social media aspects of things. But certainly people are not feeling the way that they are not living life enough is because they are getting themselves restricted in a small screen. But I think the way to get out of that for me has, because I have also been a victim of not having a good attention span or being constrained by my screen time. And that's something I wouldn't deny, because having to have a screen time is not as bad as it seems. Because if you're actually spending your time really judicially on social media, you can learn a lot of things and get a lot of knowledge about how brands work, how strategy works, and everything as such. But at the end, you have to sit with yourself for 10 minutes at least to think what's happening inside your brain, to dump it down somewhere, and just to sit with a pen and a paper and write about what you want to be doing at the present. Doesn't matter what you want to do after class 12th or after graduation. It's just what's something which is itching your brain. Like, I have to do this thing done. I have to get started on this thing. So that's what I believe should be done in the way of living life.
Yes, and this is actually the way through which the person could uh, actually found their own purpose, because nowadays almost everyone is just working on autopilot mode, right?
Yeah. It's like people's brain is just switched off and it's just the body keeping on doing the work. And this autopilot mode just keeps on going on even in the personal aspect, life aspect of people as well, where they are with their friends and their families, but they don't feel they're present with them, or they just feel like the time just went by like anything, and they do not feel a single emotion or have a feeling regarding anything which is happening around them. Humans have a very deep connection towards people, and not anything is casual or anything as such. So it's all deep rootedly connected to each thing. And it's really important for people, even if it's 9 to 5 work, even if it's just assignment or anything as such, if a person really puts their brain into having a really deep work session, which is just for 2 hours, but if they're getting their work done to a certain extent, then they feel the satisfaction of getting the work done, that's a sign a person is living, rather than a person who has been doing work since 9 a.m. in the morning and it's 5 p.m. now, and they feel they haven't done anything all throughout the day, but it's just their body working and working. And at the end, they burnt out and the exhaustion starts to creep in. So it's really important to just not have your brain turn on the autopilot mode, and just you have to, that's why sitting with yourself, doing things on paper and not on screen is really important, to be dumping things down in a one place so that your brain doesn't feel very cluttered with all of the information it's getting or all of the tasks it has to do.
Okay, so Anishka, according to you, as you said that due to the social media and a lot of screen time, if it is not efficient, so the brain is just getting rot. uh, this actually is has become a trend nowadays also, right? That brain rot thing. I hope you heard about it.
Yeah. I wouldn't deny that I'm not aware of any of these things. In fact, I do send my friends memes regarding it. So not something I would be very proud of to saying that I'm also the brain part of the brain rot community. The entire idea of this brain rot thing started as something that's a really funny take on, having to make very lame jokes and to be just sending one or the other person a really lame joke and the other person reacts upon it. But then eventually it became something which has been making the brain actually sit really idle. The brain has to work really, really hard in a particular sense. Especially that's why the really entire sense of having a deep work session is really important, because that's where your mind is actually focused upon doing things instead of it just being idly sitting upon there. And that's why the entire critical thinking power of thinking things or having logical reasoning gets lost up due to it. And that's where the all of the opinions from others, the performative opinions and all of those things start taking place inside the mind, instead of the mind actually taking the work of understanding what's happening. Even if someone takes the time to read the news, doesn't matter if it's digital or it's offline, even if they read a particular topic and then try to think within themselves, oh, what is happening is right or wrong, or what is my take on it, is actually the sign that the brain is working, instead of just going to social media directly, seeing the comments, what people are saying, and then making a judgment that, okay, this is what people agree upon, and that's what I'm going to also agree upon. So that's where the entire brain rot thing actually starts getting fully rotten up.
Yeah, this is true. Because unless and until the brain starts working in itself by creating the its own ideas and the comments by doing the critical thinking, it will might get even worse in future. And can you tell me that what are the areas and the aspects? Nowadays there is one more trend going on that um for a self discipline you need to do something instead. For example, if you are a fat person, so you have a jar of candies right there in front of your you can say wardrobe. So in that uh, area, just switch it off and put some gums, right? So this way you will just switching the things to the most effective ones, so that your brain will get more towards worked up. Like, okay, something has come up and I just get the urge of doing it, so instead of doing that particular thing I'm gonna do that. So what do you think about it?
Well, that practice of, trying to distract your mind from what it used to take things as, like if a person is taking upon something which will make them feel guilty after a certain point, whether it be eating something sweet or procrastinating, and afterwards you start feeling guilty for not taking action or not taking the right step. This is one of those methods. And now what I believe is that people have different ways of trying to figuring out what discipline is to them. I feel like, especially for youngsters, or what even I have experienced, replacing things, or like, even no matter how much you try, like I've seen people putting screen time, like screen limit times on their phones. That's what even I did for the longest time, but it never really worked out for me. A lot of youngsters today also have ADHD. And as someone who also thinks that, I switch between a lot of tasks, but I can't seem to get one thing particularly right, what I try to do is I sort of try to have some reward attached to my deep session work. So like if I'm working something related to skills or anything as such, or even if it's my team working upon any of the projects, after we get the work done, we sort of have a quick talk or quick informal discussion where we energize each other upon, even if it's not very productive. It's just something where we talk to each other and we just talk about anything around the world. And after having a good deep work session, you will feel the internal satisfaction you wanted to feel, that okay, now that I've gotten one task done, I feel the urge I can do two other things more. So it's like you have to sit down and do the particular thing in a way that works for you. It's very subjective. For the example you stated, it's something which I have seen work for a lot of people, but I've also seen a lot of people not abide by the principle of being disciplined, waking up at a particular time, doing certain things. So at the end, I think what might work for a lot of people is to just attach a reward to their own deep session task, even if that reward is like, doom scrolling or anything as such. Whatever works for them is fine enough as long as the work is being done. Doom scrolling is not something I would suggest people to have as rewards, but in the sense, people can reward themselves by watching movies, which is like 1 or 2 hours, so that their attention span gets fixed. Because nowadays, a lot of people don't even have the attention span to watch a good movie for 2 hours, or even go to the theaters to watch a good film act or anything as such. So something which can make you feel like, okay, I am living life in a certain way, in a way that's not hampering my current, because not a lot of people can mold themselves to a lot of disciplinary acts or anything as such, because now there are a lot of people are very restricted towards what they change about themselves. So having a routine fixed for every person is going to be different, but at the end, if you attach a reward to any of your difficult tasks, it's going to give you the sense of, feeling to urge to just get the task over as soon as possible, or just do your best so that you get a reward after it. And that reward usually comes from your own self. And your mind just feeling a bit more relaxed after you do a certain thing, or after you get an appreciation for a certain or validation for it. So it does play a lot of important neuroscience character inside the brain.
Yeah, it is. So, what advice will you give to the young students who are facing this transition in between their careers, like who have graduated from their high school and now preparing for their college, so that they could also know that how they could work upon themselves and find where they need to go?
Yeah, I think when it comes, a lot of people think that figuring out career or just having the life figured out is something they have to get it done by the age they are 20 or anything as such. But it's a truth that I certainly believe that you can't have your entire life figured out by the age you're 20, 30, 40, or even in your 50s. I've seen people of every age aspect being confused by what they are doing in their life, and it's going to stay constant throughout the years. So what a person can do presently, as I mentioned before, is to understand the whys, is to understand what they enjoy doing in the present. If a person loves traveling a lot, what lifestyle they can attach to their work life so that they can travel and have that sense of, momentary happiness, or finding happiness through like traveling is something what they keeps them alive. So they might find a work or something as such which can keep them accountable for it too. Because what we like or what we dislike is something which is contradict each other a lot. Like I might like having rest or have liking to sleep or to take my body in a very complete deep sleep sense, but my working lifestyle is not something which allows me to do it a very long or something like that. So I sometimes give myself that sleep reward. Like, okay, after I'm having a certain task being done, I can reward myself with some nap time, anything as such. So that's what I mentioned before. It's very subjective to people for what they like and what they dislike. So it's really important for people to understand their own likings, because they can understand it better than anyone else can, anyone else than their partners, parents, friends, anyone. So that will play a really huge part, and also that will change the career trajectory as well. And it's okay to switch between careers. A lot of people think that it's a sin if you switch to one particular career to another, that oh my gosh, you don't have a life figured out, you're a very confused individual, and anything as such. I just want to mention it's completely fine, as long as if you are being comfortable with it, as long as you're confident in the path you're taking, no one's objection is going to get you anyway. So yeah.
Yeah. So, what are the three mistakes you think a person do when they are under this transition of switching careers, and when they graduate from the high school and go to the college, or from the college and looking for the job?
Yeah, so like I think one of the mistakes I did when growing up, and I sometimes have this is what I've been observing as well in people, is to basically just feel the very internal pressure of doing things in a very certain way. Like let's say at the age of 16, you have had the plan of giving one particular entrance exam, being in college for 4 years, and then giving another entrance exam for your masters. That's a solid plan to have, but sometimes in future some things just don't work out, and it doesn't mean that you're incapable of doing that certain task. That's not the issue. The issue is just some things not working out for you. It's a sign that you are just not built for this. You're just not built for this particular environment or this particular setting of things. So that's why your body, your mind is not able to get you up for this. So it's really important to understand why you feel that you're not being able to be good at a certain thing. And that can be confusing. That can be very self-argumentative that, okay, I feel that I'm not good in a certain thing, but what if I'm just overthinking? That can be true. But it's just something, if it's happening in a very repetitive process, if you're seeing that you're not good at one subject or you're not good at one interest field, then even if you're trying it hard, like really over and over times, and you're just seeing that you are just feeling that you're not getting anywhere in life or anywhere with it, it's fine to switch, because that's just a sign that you can do better in some other field, because a lot of subjects, a lot of interests take up more critical thinking and logical reasoning than the other ones. And every subject analyzes the human brains and uses the human brains in a very different aspects. Some people who enjoy doing mathematics and science might not enjoy doing English literature and philosophy, and vice versa. And there's nothing wrong in either of those two parties of people. It's just their way that their brain is working through it. So, and also people think that other people are going to judge them for the career switch or anything as such. People nowadays are very busy with their own lives. Everyone is going to some or the other thing in their own lives. So no one can care less about what the other person is switching to and what the other person is doing in their life. So I think it's a very own person's responsibility to be aware of it and to take step for it without being scared for the judgment the society will pass, because now the society is just us young generation and we know how messed up our own lives are going. So I could care less what the other person is doing with their own life and what step they are taking.
Yeah, because fear of judgment is the major thing that not even our parents, but us as individual and youngsters goes through a lot. And
Yeah.
it is not like overall the society, it is like something that we messed up all in our own head actually.
Certainly. I mean, that the thoughts of, feeling that you're going to get judged by the society was also something I faced when I was 17. And it's normal to be having that, because you being grown up into a circle where you were advised to follow one linear path, and now you're seeing your life not being followed in that linear path is making you feel like you're incapable of even following any path in life. So at the end, eventually the paths do shift a lot. Majority of the people I've seen in my life, 90% of these people have had their paths changed. Everyone has made their own paths. Everyone has made their own careers trajectory from point A of career to point Z of careers. So, and it's a very long process too. You just realize along the way what you like and what you don't like, because the likings I have right now can also change in the coming few years too. So it's a very own person's responsibility and accountability to be, taking care of themselves in a way that they're observant of their own actions, their own steps. Because if a person is changing career trajectories, the person should also be aware that they are responsible for their own actions. So they can't blame it on anyone that, okay, I made this change because of my parents or because I the society told me so. Everyone is an adult now, so it's their own responsibility to taking the accountability of it. That's where the brain starts to rewire. Ki, okay, now it's time for things to be taken seriously instead of just taking them for granted.
Yes, actually, this is true. And I think this is the major issue which plays a role when it comes to the self doubt, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Self doubt, I think self doubt is again something which comes from a very another aspect of just not putting yourself out there. Because I used to have a lot of self doubt during the COVID lockdown period, and that was the last time where I saw myself being constrained always in self doubt. And self doubt is something which is always gonna be in life no matter what. It's the constant companion. Even when I am doing a lot of ventures right now, a lot of projects, a lot of publication work, I do have the self doubt about the skills I currently have or whatever I'm doing or whatever I'm not doing. But it's just the act of, sort of low-key trying to gaslight yourself into thinking that, okay, you have that doubt, let the doubt just stay there. You have to prove your own doubt wrong. You have to put yourself out there, do something which contradicts your self doubt. If I am having a doubt that I'm not confident enough, I would take the step to just be in the public stage and speak something and come back, and then my doubt will just start eliminating a bit more from my own mind.
Yeah, this is true. So, Anushka, as we move forward, can you tell me about what is the future of skills that you think that it has, and what is the broader aspect that you are thinking of right now?
Yeah, so for skills as of right now, as of like impacting only 60,000 students we have currently, we do aim to reach a more wider number of students all over the country. And also, we do plan to expand it further down the line to a lot of developing countries in Asia as well, because the lack of information access is not something which is only prevailing in India, but in also a lot of Asian developing countries as well. So that's what we plan to do, and as well as we do plan to have a lot of more competitions and opportunity lists in a lot of various fields as well, because we are also like trying to explore and get to know a lot of things which we weren't aware about 2 years ago. So we are mending our ways through it, as well as just trying to collaborate with a lot of universities and institutions as well. We have had a fair share of collaborations with IIT Bombay, ESL, BITS Pilani, University of Chicago, all of those universities. But we will also be collaborating with other places to get more in-hand exposure we can give to students out there.
Actually, this is a very good thing, because when a student looking for college, so at that time, the exact information that the individual needed is not actually available the way it needs to be on social
Yeah.
media and on the digital platform, and even on the official websites of the particular you can see university, right?
Yeah, I mean, the reason why we also collaborate with universities was because so that we can get the mentors from there, as well as those universities are also in search of students who are working on anything which requires funds, grants, or anything as such. So that's what we initially planned to do.
Yeah, this is actually a good thing. So, how are you thinking about the legal side of the skill zoo and the structures, brand, and the overall aspect of the skill zoo? And have you ever figured it out, or just still exploring about this aspect?
For the legal aspects of things, we have had it figured out from before, like 1.5 years before we started with this idea, because we wanted to make sure we did not get into legal policies act or anything as such, because we were getting information from other places as well. And as far as that's concerned, for the brand and strategy part of things, brand and strategy is something which goes really along the social media trends and the way Gen Z is reacting on social media and everything as such. So for that, we do mend our ways, the way we advertise, the way we reach out to people, and all of that. And as far as for structure, it has been streamlined into our various ways we cater to people, whether it be the Tier 3 and Tier 4 city students mentorship program, or even this platform thing for high school students in India. So everything is just structured out in a way that's sort of linear, but it can be changed in some or the other direction.
Okay, so you have built the flexible system that works out accordingly, and if the change is needed, so it will be handled that way, right?
Yeah. And also, the change would take some time to get executed, to be very realistic, because if we are having a really particular way of having to get students on board, and if tomorrow we see that's not really working out in our favor, then we are open to a lot of ideas and to a lot of backup options, but definitely it will take some time to execute.
Okay, so let me ask you a very interesting question, that what advice as a as you as a teenager, as a 18-year-old girl, would be going to give to your younger self when you were in your transition period?
I think the major transition period I had was somewhere around the age of 15 to 16, 16, I would say, after my class 10 examinations got over. And that's where I was trying a lot of things. And that's where I was signing up in a lot of entrepreneurship boot camps, TEDx, being a TEDx speaker, and all of that happened at that age. So the one advice I would give to my younger self back then, like she was really intimidated by people around her and she thought that she had to be like someone else. I think the only advice I would give to anyone watching this would be if you can be anyone in this world, become yourself. Because there was this one time a young girl reached out to me saying that I want to be like you, Anushka Didi, in future. And I was like, if you could be anything, if you can be anyone in this lifetime, be like yourself, be like how you would want your future self to look like and not like me because I have my own flaws, I have my own imperfections. So why would you see the entire idea of role model is where I sort of contradict to role model as a person? Yes, it's a person you should be looking up to with the values and beliefs they hold, with the actions they take, and if that's what inspires you, that's really really amazing. But having that person as the set as like a expectation of how you want to become is not gonna happen exactly in the way you would think. So it's really important for yourself to be really confident within your own skills, even if it's just two skills, whether it be just speaking to people or trying new things out, just uphold those skills very confidently and certainly you can build anything upon it.
That's actually a very great advice, I guess. And thank you so much, Anushka, because I have actually got a chance to explore a lot of things with you and have a lot of conversation with you about a lot of things. And we have touched a lot of topics that nowadays people and even youngsters are facing difficulties with, right?
Yeah, certainly. I'm also really thankful to be a part of this podcast and as well. And I hope I can reach to a wider set of students as well, to which this can be helpful too. So thank you so much, Anshika, for having me on board.
Thank you so much, Anushka.